99.3 KLIN. Welcome to the best recap of Husker sports, Husker Rewind, with your hosts Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome to the circus.
Steps, throws down the field, the pass. He's intercepted, picked off by Sierra Wright to the 30, 25, 20, Sierra down the near sideline, 20, 10, 5, touchdown Nebraska. Sierra Wright with a pick six for Nebraska.
Here comes the serve. Straight ahead, past Schumacher, set in the middle, Schmeck, out of bounds. We're done. Huskers win. Call it, grandkids. Nebraska sweeps Wisconsin on the road, no less.
And for the first time in 41 years, Nebraska knocks off the top-ranked team in the country, and they are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. Love it. Sign your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
Breaking ball, that's looped in left field. Gabe Swanson is there. He squeezes it, and your Huskers are Big Ten champions. After losing game one Tuesday night, they come back and win 5 straight and capture the Big Ten tournament for the first time since joining the league. And the dog pile is ongoing in front of the plate.
Now, here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome in, Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. He's Mike Melby.
What up?
Former voice of the Lincoln Stars, and he does everything in the world. He's amazing. You can't stop him with 10 men. I'm Tom Stevens. I do this show along with Mike every week. Watching a little NFL football on the tube. Philly leads the Los Angeles Rams. Our first guest, of course, John Bishop, a big fan of the Rams. So we hope we get a happy Bishop in about 20 minutes. It doesn't look like it right now, 28-22. But there are 2 minutes left to go. So the Rams could come back, and then we'd get a very happy John Bishop and talk a little Creighton basketball, Nebraska basketball, and Husker football. Starting with Husker basketball this afternoon, they have now lost 4 in a row after a 69-65 loss to Maryland in College Park, Maryland today. Nebraska falls to 12-6 and 2-5 in the Big Ten. Maryland now 14-5, 4-4, I believe now in the league. They were led by Jacoby Gillespie, who hit the layup late. He had 22 points, hit a lot of threes. Nebraska came back from 9 down to tie it at 66, looking like they could win it. But that layup by Jacoby Gillespie late, and then they're able to hang on. Nebraska tosses a three-pointer at the buzzer that's not even close, and now they've lost 4 in a row with USC on the docket this Wednesday.
That's a must-win, too.
Yeah, this was kind of a must-win today.
I don't know. The last 4 games have just – I don't know exactly what happened at the media timeout, the first media timeout in Iowa City. Nebraska's up 15. And from that moment on, this looks like a team that doesn't trust each other. It looks like a team that got a little overconfident at Iowa City. They can't hit free throws when they matter now. And then when crunch time pops up, your best guy has to get the ball in his hands. Yeah. And he doesn't go get the ball. I mean, Aaron Eulis tosses it back to him, and he's flat-footed. Go get the ball.
Yeah.
Like that, there's no reason that
is that where Fred said he wishes he would have called timeout because they looked disorganized at the end. Are you talking about that particular play?
No. This was the play where there was the potential flagrant foul on Williams.
Oh yeah. That was a little bit
before.
earlier. Yeah. The possession before.
But yeah, and then in the post game, and this is shocking to me because Coach Hoiberg is literally one of the best offensive minds in college basketball, period.
Easily.
And in the post game, he made the comment that he noticed that based on the set they had called for them to be able to get a three-pointer, right, and it essentially was going to run Connor Essegian off of a screen, 2 guys were not in the right spot, and he chose to not call a timeout and let the play go.
Well, you know me. You've watched enough games with me that
you
I demand
timeouts.
Timeouts. It seems like he leaves a lot of timeouts either to the end of games or
he had one right there.
Yeah.
And he chose not to take it. And
Well, we're both frustrated. We're both a little angry. We will talk a lot of Husker basketball today, a little Husker football. We've got a bunch of great guests, as we always do on this show. John Bishop, as we mentioned, of 1620 The Zone, the voice of Creighton basketball and baseball, but he's on unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone as well. Lance Harvell. We haven't talked to Lance in a while. Baseball season just around the corner. We'll talk some baseball with Lance at 6 o'clock tonight, and Mike Schaefer at 6:25 football. And he's pretty well-versed in Husker basketball as well, so we could talk a little Husker basketball with Mike Schaefer. Lots of Husker basketball talk. We're not ignoring it to start the show, but we got to get to the opening kickoff, as we always do. Husker
Now
headlines.
the opening kickoff on Husker Rewind.
Niles coming over at the goal line. A yard deep. He's coming out. Ball to the 10. 15. He's got a seam. 20, 30. Down the near boundary. 40. Niles cuts back. 50, 40, 35, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Niles Paul.
Wonder if Niles Paul could make a free throw. Nebraska basketball sits at 12-6 after a 69-66 loss at Maryland earlier today. Huskers have now lost 4 in a row, and in 3 of those, they basically just flat out choked with the game on the line. Andrew Morgan and Aaron Eulis were the bright spots for Nebraska today, having their best games in an NU uniform. Morgan had 17 points, and Eulis had 10 assists. French team's going to look to rebound against USC this Wednesday at PBA before another almost guaranteed loss next Saturday at Wisconsin. Then they've got Illinois at home. Illinois is top 20. Then they go on the road, and they play 2 games out in Oregon and Washington. This could be a 9-game losing streak if they do not knock off USC
It won't be
on
a
Wednesday.
9-game losing streak. It will not.
I don't think it will be either, but I don't know what broke at that first media timeout in the second half at Iowa, but something broke. And
Well, they didn't hit
They
the
need
free-
to fix it.
Well, in all 3 of the take out Purdue.
Yeah, they
Purdue
just got
killed
boat
them.
raced. Yeah.
What was that? 104-68. Purdue boat raced them. They were going to win that game. They were going to win that game anyway. And nobody has. Purdue's won like 26, 27 in a row, whatever it is. But the Iowa game's the frustrating one. And then to lose to Rutgers. And then today. And I think the theme in all 3 games, you can talk about the closeout defense, which has been horrible in all 3 of those games. But if Nebraska just does one thing in all 3 of those games, hit free throws, they win all 3. They were all close games.
Yeah.
Nebraska was 12 of
22 against Iowa.
Make 3 of them, you win that game.
Yep.
Same with Rutgers. You lose 85-82. They shot 63% against Rutgers. They were 17 of 27. Today, they didn't take a lot of free throws, but they were 6 of 11. You make your free throws, and Nebraska, obviously the margin for error is not great because this team is offensively challenged at times. Make your free throws.
3 games.
Well, better, yeah. The interesting thing
A lot of shots.
Gary this year is shooting 50% from the floor on layups.
Kent,
How is that even possible?
Kent at one point praised Andrew Morgan, as he should. He had a great game. He had 17 points, but he was talking about how great Andrew Morgan was today. And he immediately missed 2 free throws and a layup right after he said that.
Yeah.
Kent,
So
don't do
it was-
that.
it was
I love
the
you, Kent, but
announcer
don't say
jinx.
that. Do not say that.
Better news for the other team that plays at PBA. The Nebraska women's team is 14-4, 5-2 in conference after knocking off Iowa in Iowa City last Thursday. They host Wisconsin tomorrow night down at the Vault. Shiza Pete, I can't pronounce his first name.
Shiaz, I think I've been told he's called Shiaz Pete.
Well, he's now called the Kentucky Wildcat.
Yes, he is.
He committed to Kentucky instead of Nebraska. Another big loss for Matt Rule's squad, who once again failed to land a difference-making offensive lineman. They're probably going to have to wait until
I think they've got a
spring
good one.
portal period.
But you're right. They are missing out on a few. But they're the 6th ranked portal class, I think, in college football.
That's great. I'm just talking offensive linemen. We've had the best offensive linemen in the 24 and the 25 class, right, at high school that had Nebraska as a finalist. Couldn't close the deal. We've had 5 or 6. Isaiah World, I can't remember the other ones, but we've had 5 or 6 in the last 2 years, maybe 7 or 8.
There's a kid from Washington. There was the kid that Samoan kid, but I can't. They didn't get him.
Yeah,
they didn't get Shiaz Pete. They have missed out. You're right. Oh, not just this year, but the last couple of years. They missed out on offensive line.
And that's great. We're a finalist. Well, you know what? Close the deal. And bottom line,
I don't think it's
Shiaz
over.
Pete made the comment that it wasn't about money. And that may or may not be the case, but for most of these kids, it's about money. Nebraska's 1890 Collective is supposed to be one of the best in the country, so well organized, so well funded, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? If that's the case, then it's not quite as good as what everybody's saying
It's
because
not
it's about the
completely
money.
over, Mike. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor?
Well, John Belushi said so, and well, no, he said it wasn't.
I'm hearing that maybe you could get a guy in after spring.
Well, and that's
maybe
maybe they're going to have to wait
before,
till after spring football.
But I don't think it's over. But you would like to have any offensive lineman that you get participate in spring ball so you can get them acclimated. I would point out that Teddy Prohaska is coming back. Turner Corcoran is coming back. Well, I think Corcoran. I don't know actually if Corcoran has announced if he's coming back yet, but I think that you're probably going to get both those guys coming back. Corcoran has played tackle for most of his career, but he would have 1 year left. I haven't heard a decision on Corcoran, but Prohaska is definitely coming back, right?
Well, Prohaska is.
But Teddy is definitely a tackle. He's an offensive tackle you could put in on the left or right side. And then you've got Gunnar Gatula, who I think can be a really good offensive tackle for Nebraska.
Does Corcoran have a year I don't know about?
Yes, he does.
Was a senior.
He gets. I think he gets a medical year. I think he has a medical year coming. I'll ask Schaefer about that.
Okay, yeah,
I'll ask Schaefer about that. But I think he's available for another year in Nebraska.
Nothing wrong with that.
I mean, as we know, the guys are getting 7 years in college football nowadays because of medical issues and other things.
Javen Wright,
the COVID year. Yeah, Javen Wright's coming back.
Yeah, so it's. I guess the only thing else I had for opening kickoff is CFP football game tomorrow. So
yeah, well, let's talk a little basketball because I think we're both frustrated, and maybe this will give us a chance to talk about it. Nebraska shot 46% from the field. Not terrible. They've been bad on the road. They've been much worse than that on the road shooting this year at times. Shot 37% from three. Had a bad day, as we mentioned, at the free throw line, shooting 6 of 11, 54% again today. During the 4-game skid, Nebraska has given up 59 threes, which is crazy when you think about it. And I think at a percentage right around 47% from the three-point line. The closeout defense, to say the least, has not been good. Maryland had 10 threes today. They were 10 of 25 from three-point range. Nebraska did out-rebound Maryland 36-32. They had more offensive boards than Maryland. But again, I think you could track all three of these losses. They were never going to beat Purdue, but the three losses that we're concerned about, the Iowa loss, the Rutgers loss, and today versus Maryland, to three-point defense and free throw shooting.
I agree, but then you've got a tie game at 66. Okay, Nebraska stormed back down situational stuff, and Maryland's got the ball. They've just given up a 9-0 run. They're about to choke like they did against Northwestern. You got to get a bucket, and Jacoby Gillespie just essentially. Now it's a tough shot to defend, but
that was not good. Was that Aaron Eulis that was on him?
Yeah, and he blows by Nebraska player, and it's a little running kind of.
I think he beat
Eulis
on that
weird
play.
Whatever you make that same shot when you and I used to play across the street.
I was really good at that shot.
You were really good at that shot. I could never stop you.
The running one-hander.
Yeah, and that's essentially what it was. But they had the one guy that needed to go get the bucket, went and got the bucket. We all knew he was going to get the ball. Now, granted, they may have kicked it out to Rodney Rice. That was a possibility as well. Or Selton Miguel, who had hit 2 or 3 threes in the game. He was like 3 for 8. But at the end of the day, the best player has to step up and make the play. And then Nebraska with an opportunity to take the lead earlier in that half, just not 3 or 4 minutes before that. Bryce Williams for Nebraska misses 2 wide open threes. And then on the turnover where Eulis tried to throw it back to him, go get the damn ball. Why are you standing flat-footed? When we run that high out and the guy without the ball is moving, he goes and gets the ball.
Yeah.
And Eulis took it from Williams, who stopped and then waited for a pass. Go get the ball. I just don't get where our best player needs to step up and make a play, and he just doesn't. And it's frustrating as hell.
I defend Bryce because I think he's a great player.
He's an unbelievable player, but at the same time, situationally,
I don't think he gets a lot of help. It's a wide open three. What help does he need? Make the basket. Yeah, sure. One particular play, yes, he doesn't always make the good decisions that you want out of a senior that's been at Nebraska for a couple of years. And he does average, 19 points a game. He's probably going to be all league on one of the three teams, first, second, or third. I think he has a chance to make the NBA. I just don't think he's getting enough help. You have Bryce that gets 14 today. Point to another guy in the starting lineup that reached double figures. No one.
No.
Berkay gets that 3 early, and I thought, okay, this is going to be Berkay's day. Nothing. And he has 8 points.
He hit 2 threes. But then the other question I have, and this is, I don't know if he's hurt, but where is Connor Essegian gone? He's still making threes. He was 2 of 4 today.
He doesn't play enough for your liking.
No.
Right?
Connor Essegian should be on the floor for 28 to 32 minutes a game. I don't mind him coming off the bench because I like that starting lineup. But
I think the knock on Connor, if you were to get the truth serum out of Fred Hoiberg, would be defense. He set Casey for some of the same reasons, but especially in crunch time. Casey played a lot just because he was such a dynamic shooter. And one thing that Casey had that Connor doesn't seem to have, at least yet, is his ability to finish at the rim. Casey was an amazing, not only finisher at the rim, but he was a really good mid-range shooter. Connor showed a little bit of that in the Creighton game and a few other games, but mostly he's been settling for 3-point shots. And I would love to see him give a pump fake and go around guys more often and beat guys off the dribble. Casey had that ability.
And fair enough. But at the same time, what Essegian brings, look at the plus minus every game. I mean, he was -3 today. Williams was -9. Gary was -8. Sam Hoiberg, Aaron Eulis, I think, were +7 and +6. But when Essegian's on the floor, the game that he didn't score, or he had 2 points on the free throws, and I think it was against UCLA, he's +20 something without scoring. So I don't get how that guy can all of a sudden, over the course of the following 4 games, just now be considered a defensive liability, or we're not going to put him on the floor very often.
Yeah, he probably should play a few more minutes. Eulis actually had a very good game, as we mentioned, 10 assists. Sam had a very nice game. He gives you 3 for 3 and 8 points in the game. But Wooster have you noticed that Raleigh Wooster is almost never on the floor at the end of a game?
Yeah.
We always talk about it, the guys that start and the guys that are on the floor at the end of the game. It doesn't seem like Wooster is ever in the game at the end of the game. Mia is not, because he's not a good free throw shooter. He had 4 points today. Gary only took 9 shots, which I thought was good. I think he needs to be more efficient in his shooting. He's had games where, in the Iowa game, for example, he took 21 shots. He only took 9 today, but he had 6 points. He's got to be better. Missed a couple of shots at the rim. Andrew Morgan was your star. He kept Nebraska in it when it looked like they could get blown out. He was 7 of 12 from the field. He had 17 points. Andrew Morgan he's been around college basketball for a while, a transfer, but he gives you something off the bench that you really need. I just wish there were one more, and maybe, to your point, Essegian could be the other guy. But Nebraska, in my mind, is just not dynamic enough offensively. And they lack – remember Bo Reed told us a couple of weeks ago that they lack –
they lack Bo Reed.
They lack Bo Reed. They lack – I would even – if you want to go more recent, I would say Sam Griesel or Emmanuel Bandamel, that type of guy that can just lock a guy down, that you don't have to worry about. You go to their best player, lock him down. Gillespie, sorry, you're not getting 22 today. You might get 14, but you're not getting around me
shots to get it.
And you're not getting around me on a crucial shot to win the game. And that's basically what happened. Bo put it as, a tougher guy, kind of like himself, as you said. He's not afraid to knock somebody down, knock them on their butt, take a foul.
Well, that guy for Nebraska is Sam Hoiberg.
But he's not the biggest dude in the world. I would rather have somebody.
Imposing.
Yeah, I would rather have somebody like a Bo Reed who's 6'8", 240, and is kind of a badass. Is an enforcer, and Nebraska lacks that for a team that wants to be gritty, who wants to be tough. They don't have a lot of gritty, tough guys. They just don't.
And one of the reasons, to me, and I wanted to double check the stats and see what he was shooting from the line, but one of the reasons why Raleigh Worcester's not in the game late, I think, is because he's a 69% free throw shooter.
Yeah.
And he wasn't a great free throw shooter earlier in his career either.
That's true. But he is a pretty good decision maker, and he can get to the rim. You're right. I think it was the Iowa game? He was 3 for 7 in that game, shooting at the free throw line, which really hurt you.
Yep.
We'll talk a lot about Husker basketball today. We're both frustrated because Nebraska is 12-6, where they were 12-2. 12-6. I mean, it looked like this team is going to make the NCAA tournament. No doubt about it. And now you're thinking, how in the hell are they going to make the NCAA tournament? How in the heck are they going to do that? It doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but it could.
I still have belief that Fred's going to figure out what button he needs to push or unpush to get things rolling again.
Yeah.
But
we'll be back
when
with
the
John
opportunity
Bishop.
to make plays is there. You got to make the plays.
That's right. John Bishop from 1620 The Zone. Our guest next. His Rams just got defeated by the Eagles, so I hope he's in an okay mood. We'll talk to him a couple of minutes.
Join Mark Patrick seminars. Lose the weight or stop smoking, guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Seminar Wednesday, January 22nd at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Weight loss seminar starts at 5:30. Registration 5. Stop smoking starts at 8. Registration 7:30.
Sorry, I said
You can hear me? Well, everybody, congratulations to Tom. Best home salesman 10th year in a row.
Hey, Tom, what's your secret? I'll never tell.
Wait, is that a hole in the roof?
Yeah, but the floors are done by Emo Flooring.
Sold!
Emo's immense selection of carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl, tile, and area rugs turns any home into a dream home. Emo's flooring expert designers find what's perfect for you. Stress-free. See the styles, brands, and more at emoflooring.com.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. I care deeply about creating a world we can all fully participate in, free from stigma, misperceptions, and barriers. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful
you know what
advocacy.
it's like to be a Vikings fan. Every day of my freaking life.
Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at EasterSeals.com.
I thought you could too. Just the way. Right.
Lincoln is listening to KLIN News.
About 90 minutes later, police responded to a call of a rock thrown through the window of an Asian daycare.
Newsmakers to the news.
One of our troopers was able to deploy stop sticks to get the vehicle slowed down. The driver still refused to stop.
KLIN News has you covered.
I thought mixing bleach with my floor cleaner would take the stain down.
When my youngest ate the dog's medicine, that was a new one.
I was trying to protect my garden, but I accidentally sprayed myself with pesticide.
So I called 1-800-222-1222, the poison helpline.
A poison expert helped me figure out what to do next.
I was connected to someone who spoke Spanish.
They answered my questions.
It was free.
It was confidential.
It was real help in real time.
Good day
Keep the poison experts in your pocket. 1-800-222-1222.
Never miss the Huskers. Right here on 1499.3 KLIN. Also online, KLIN.com, or through the free KLIN app. You can always tell Alexa to play 1499.3 KLIN. So there you go. When you think Huskers,
Takes a shot downfield, has a man open, makes a catch, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, Nebraska.
think KLIN.
It's your weekly rundown of Husker sports with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens.
They've done studies, 60% of the time, it works every time.
On 1499.3 KLIN.
And we're just a good team. We're a good top 20, top 25 team, but we're obviously this current version of us, the defense and the rebounding, make us nothing like we've been.
That's Dan Hurley after their loss yesterday to Creighton, previously ranked 14th in the country and back-to-back national champs. but they fall to the Blue Jays. Our next guest, of course, the voice of Creighton basketball, John Bishop. Good day yesterday, kind of a tough day today with your Rams. I'm sorry. Now you know how I feel every day of the year with being a Vikings fan.
It's hard to stack two on top of each other, but I'll certainly take what happened yesterday in Stores. That was a very inspired performance, and considering what this team has been through, and losing a key guy early in the season and having to kind of reload a little bit or reassess everything. If you would have told me that the team that lost at Georgetown 3 weeks ago was going to go on the road and beat Connecticut, I wouldn't have believed you. So, yeah, good win yesterday. Today, not so much, but we gave it a go.
It's okay. You're 1 for 2, or 1 for 1 and 1 actually. But Creighton looks like now maybe an NC tournament team. I mean, I wouldn't have said that a month ago, but now they're 11-6. You've just beat the 14th ranked team in the country. Are they a tournament team possibly?
I mean, certainly they could be. The real question is going to be, can they continue to sustain it? The Big East, unfortunately for Creighton, isn't quite as strong, or at least perceptibly, because of, how they did in the non-conference. It looks like the teams that are a lock are St. John's, UConn, and Marquette. And then after that, it's a little up and down. Now, the good news is Creighton did have a really good non-conference schedule. They do have a couple of, really good wins in UConn and Kansas. But, you got to stack it up. Certainly, I think the way they're playing now, yes, they're a tournament team. You just got to keep going with it. The strategy that, Nebraska used on Ryan Kalkbrenner was kind of duplicated and copied a few times. And certainly gave him fits. And UConn tried to do that last night, or yesterday. But I think, they've been able to with Jemiah Neal, putting the ball in his hands a little bit more and just creating something off the dribble has given them an opening. And then you just got to get some scoring from your wings. I mean, it's back-to-back games now that Isaac Trout's had double-digit games. You got to have that because you got to have more than just the top 3 scorers doing your work for you. And it's not a deep bench anyway. So, that's going to be the recipe. But I think if they continue to play the way they have been playing, they're certainly a tournament team.
John, I want to ask you, and I want to ask Tom, can you feel the strain? Because I got Bob Diaco on the show. He's been named a linebackers coach at North Carolina. Anyway, Bish, let's talk Husker basketball.
Really
special teams coach. That'd be so bad. What's going on? I mean, I know Creighton's your team and all that, but obviously a UNL grad, and you've spent many times, following Nebraska, et cetera. But what do you think is going on with Nebraska basketball right now during this 4-game stretch?
Well, I mean, mostly it was defensive oriented. Maybe not as much today, but Maryland did hit some threes. It's what is it now? Has it been all 4 games where the opponents hit 10 or more threes?
Yes.
Yeah. They hit 10 of 25 today.
59 threes in the last 4 games.
Yeah. So, I mean, when that happens, that was the reason why Creighton didn't win. I think they did hit 10 threes, but they took like 40 shots, right? So it's not just about hitting. It's not just about the number of threes, but you got to be efficient. And Creighton wasn't efficient, and so Nebraska, the way Nebraska played defense, it worked for them. But now, teams are spreading it out and they're getting more efficient, and so it's all about defense. I don't think offensively there's a lot of issues. I know there's some turnovers early that kind of put them behind the 8 ball. But I give them credit for fighting back. When they went down 9 with 3 minutes to go, I thought, well, they packed this one in, and they fought back. But then, you get that turnover there on the last, I guess it was the last possession or a second to last possession. When Williams got heated up top and turned it over and committed the foul, you just can't have that. You got to get a shot off in that situation. Yeah. And it's just the little things now. And unfortunately, when little things start piling up, confidence starts to wane a little bit. And, they really need today sucked. Yes, absolutely. But I go back 2 games ago. I mean, that was a game you should have won.
The Iowa game.
No, I'm sorry. Well, the Iowa game, absolutely. I'm talking Rutgers.
Rutgers, yeah.
Defend home court. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, when the story on this season is written, if it does not end well, it's all going to go back to that second half against Iowa. No question about it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing in sports how often that can happen, where you're cruising along, you're doing great, and then something goes wrong. And that's the thing that this Nebraska team needs, and I think it's the thing that keeps them from winning on the road. You need a stopper.
Yeah.
You need someone to just, hey, when times are tough, he's either a great shooter, a point guard, or a defensive stopper. You need a stopper.
Yeah.
And you need that stopper mindset. And right now they've kind of lost their way on that. And so obviously this next one against USC, dare I say, it's a winnable game. They've got to win it. But then you go on the road and Wisconsin and Illinois, and I can't remember the other.
Oregon and Washington.
Oregon. That's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the thing that's going to keep Nebraska out of the tournament. You have to win on the road.
Yep.
Just have to win on the road. And, today was an opportunity. Certainly a couple games ago against Iowa, huge opportunity. You're running out of those opportunities.
John Bishop of 1620 The Zone, the voice of Creighton basketball and baseball as well. We've talked about this, and Creighton's gotten their share of Omaha kids. Nebraska just hasn't for the majority of time. They've gotten a few, but not recently. And I look at guys like Chucky Hepburn, who went to Wisconsin and now is at Louisville, or Hunter Salas, who went to Gonzaga and is now at Wake Forest, or, Frankie Fiddler, who is now at Michigan State. I mean, they've got so many guys that have not chosen Nebraska or Creighton recently, but Creighton's certainly gotten more Omaha kids than Nebraska. Do you think NIL is responsible for that, or why does it matter even anymore? You just go get the best kids, but it doesn't seem like Nebraska can get Nebraska kids.
Well, I think with Nebraska's issue, it's just been kind of a cultural thing, because Nebraska had many, many, many years in the dark ages, and it just didn't seem like they had any positive momentum. It was just easier to want to go somewhere else. Now, you mentioned a couple of guys. I mean, Salas goes to Gonzaga. Can't fault him for that one. Chucky goes to Wisconsin. Can't fault him for that one. Frankie's a little different because, he was a lot of people didn't think he was quite ready for the high major level, but he obviously proved it, and then took advantage of the transfer portal and went there. So, I mean, that's certainly a unique situation to end up at Michigan State like that. So I don't think it's NIL. I think it's still some just the idea of a lot of kids grow up, especially in the Omaha area. If there was a basketball program they followed, at least this was the case with, the guys that Creighton recruited, like Pat and Kyrie Thomas and, those types of guys. They followed Creighton because they were the winning program, and Nebraska didn't have any presence there. Now I'm just speaking for, guys like that. I can't, just throw a blanket over it and say it's everybody, but I do think there is an element of, kids from Omaha, when they think of basketball, they don't think of Nebraska. And if they're really good at it and they got opportunities, they're gonna spread their wings and go out, somewhere else. So, it'll be interesting to see, with the classes here in the future, if Omaha keep turning out, some really good talent. Well, heck, you'll see another one for USC, St. Thomas.
Yeah.
Coming back into town.
Sure.
So, it'll be interesting to see, if Fred can keep some positive momentum.
Well, revenue sharing is here now, John.
Yeah, and revenue sharing, and certainly that'll help. I mean, it will. I mean, and you can just throw a blanket, or you can just say that for everybody. It doesn't matter if you're from Omaha or Lincoln or Fresno, right? NIL. So certainly that'll be an advantage, I would think, for Nebraska, depending on how they divvy up that money. But, yeah, I'll be curious to see, how NIL impacts the local recruiting, with really both the schools and maybe even Omaha as well.
Yeah. There you go. John Bishop of 1620 The Zone. Let's move to football. Nebraska hasn't hired a special teams coordinator. Do you think they will? Do you think they'll just go ahead and not hire one? I mean,
No, they'll hire one. I mean, they've got unlimited coaches now. You can have unlimited coaches, so they'll definitely. I think they'll hire one. I don't think it's. I don't know if it's necessarily urgent at this moment because you're not in spring ball yet. But you'll want to get one here relatively soon. But I would like to think that they'll bring in somebody, and maybe who knows, maybe that person is still in an organization that is playing. I mean, I'm just throwing out a guess. I'm not alluding that there's someone from Ohio State or Notre Dame or heck even at the pro level who's coming in. But
right.
I think there's probably a rhyme or a reason for it. If there's a time where you can take your time and be pretty selective, I think it's right now, because you're in the off season now and you're not spring football yet. So I'll be curious to see what they do, and I would not be surprised, much like how Bo did it. What year was that? Was that 13 or was that his last year in 14 when he really took a keen interest in special teams?
Right.
That's
why I said that. I mean, you think of Matt Rule, maybe he wants.
Matt Rule.
Yeah.
I agree. I would be. I still think there'll be somebody, who will probably have the label. But I would not be surprised if Matt Rule takes a more keen interest in it, and really, because I've always believed, Tom and Mike, that special teams is a barometer for the culture of your program. If you have good special teams, it means you have focus, attention to detail. It means everybody's bought in because it's the least sexy part of football. Except for the returners, obviously the returners get a lot of the glory, but it's not something that it only takes up 5 to 10% of all football plays, but it can be the difference between winning and losing. And I just believe that when you really pay attention to it, and you really focus on it, I think it tells you a lot about just the overall culture in your program, because I think it means you've got buy-in from the top down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it would probably be a good idea on Matt Rule's part to take a more keen interest in it, because he's the culture guy. He's the culture developer. He's the head of the organization. So, I think you'll have another coach, but would it surprise me if Matt Rule, took more of that on? No.
Yeah.
So Nebraska loses out on another offensive line recruit, Shiaz Pete.
Yeah.
Shows Kentucky today. Nebraska's been in on like the 24 and the 25 best offensive linemen in high school in those classes. They don't get them. They've been involved with, I can't even count, 10 different top-of-the-line difference-making offensive linemen in the portal in the last 2 years. And essentially they've got, granted Alabama's starting tackle that was far and away their least successful offensive lineman last year. But I think he's a work in progress. Any thoughts as to why Nebraska can't close the deal with linemen? Because it's not like they don't have what many are considering one of the top 6 or 7 classes in the portal right now. What's the shortfall with offensive linemen?
I think this is where your NIL comes in, because those types of positions are really, really coveted. That defensive line, and sure, you're gonna spend money on a quarterback, you're gonna spend money on skill position, but those offensive linemen are really, really important. And so, and I'm not saying that Nebraska's NIL is poor, but when you've already brought in quite a few guys, as they have, and I think they've brought in some good guys, and they've certainly filled some needs. I just wonder if maybe some of those other schools have had a little bit more at the end of their budget to go out and get these offensive linemen. That'd be my guess. But it's so hard to get good offensive linemen, and I still think in an era of NIL, offensive line is still an area if you recruit the right mentality that you can develop, and you can still kind of do it the old-fashioned way, the old Nebraska way, where you bring in those guys and you build them up and have them here for 4 and 5 years. Now, maybe that's a little pie in the sky thinking on my part, but I still think there's a chance there because, you get the right offensive line organization, great coach, and you know that you're going to get opportunities and they're going to make you better. I think that's still an area where, you can be a development program. Now, I know that doesn't necessarily fit the bill when you're, graduating a couple of players and need to go out and get somebody, but I'm kind of hoping, that Nebraska can at least try to do that because I still believe in the continuity and the development that comes from great offensive lines. Those offensive lines that come up together, I tend to think play better together than necessarily going out and getting a bunch of free agents.
Yeah, I just wonder how much development comes into play in this era of the portal where you don't have a lot of time. And it feels like you're spending, a couple million on a quarterback, 800,000 on offensive linemen. You got to win now. And it seems like Rule has gone away from the development plan, not completely gone away from it, but he feels an urgency to win now more. And so you got to get the portal guys. And it's a 105-man roster now, Bish. It's not 150 that you can just wait around for guys to develop.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's, things have changed so much that, I got to imagine for someone like Matt Rule, who's, kind of been, not that he's an old guy and he's stuck in his ways, but, for someone who had a plan and that plan was, develop, recruit, develop, find diamonds in the rough, develop, and then to have all of this, come in and he's trying to adjust on the fly. I got to imagine it's been a little bit tough. I think they've done pretty well in the portal in the areas where they have filled those needs. But, in a lot of ways, and we can probably lament this, but like pro free agency, baseball, football, basketball, whatever the case may be, unless you're the Dodgers, who have all the money in the world and aren't afraid to spend it, you don't get everybody you want in free agency. So, it might be just a case of that too. It's just, there's a lot of opportunities out there and, kids are going to go and take the best deal, the best offer they can get their hands on.
Yeah. It's the wild, wild west for sure. These days. Hey, love your stuff on the Zone and your calls on Creighton. So we'll have you back soon. I'm sorry about the Rams today.
That's all right, Tom. I love our defense. We got a really good future. We just need a little bit more speed on the outside and boost up that secondary, and we'll be back.
Don't be down. You could be a Vikings fan.
Hey, you could be a Cowboys fan like me and stuck with all the rumors about Dion.
I would never wish that on my worst enemy.
Great stuff. Thanks, Bish. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
All right, thanks, John. John Bishop, 1620 The Zone, the host of Unsportsmanlike Conduct, the voice of Creighton basketball and baseball as well. We'll talk a little baseball at 6 o'clock, Husker baseball with Lance Harvell, one of our favorite guests that we ever have on the show. I do want to broach a subject that we brought up with Bishop. How different would Nebraska be if some of these Nebraska kids would choose Nebraska? Why is it so hard? Not only the first time around, you can understand some of these kids going to the high-profile schools, but even the second time around when you can offer them big money from NIL, they're not choosing Nebraska. We'll talk about it coming up.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went.
Down about a grams. I would.
It did work for me. My friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Early bird special only $49.99 guaranteed. Hypnosis designed to work without anxiety, irritability, or weight gain. Early bird special only $49.99. Become a non-smoker. Seminar Wednesday, January 22nd at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Stop smoking seminar at 8. Weight loss seminar 5:30. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Saving money on your bathroom upgrade now at Menards. Transform your bathroom with our great selection of Lion showers, bathtubs, and surrounds that match your style and budget. Lions knows how important design and function are. Their acrylic products offer strength and beauty that you can rely on for years to come. Check out our entire selection of Lions bathroom products today on Menards.com. Plus, view the weekly flyer for great deals happening now.
Save money at Menards.
We got like 30.
Did you know that youth with mentors are 46% less likely than their peers to start using drugs? Hi, I'm Tim Royers, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Mentored youth are also more likely to go to college and to volunteer regularly in their communities. There is power in supporting young people in our communities. Consider mentoring a student. The success of our young Nebraskans is critical to our state's
I don't get a ton of their meat.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Okay.
Introducing the YMCA. What? You already know the why? Or so you think.
Fairways.
Sure, you know the why for a swim, a workout,
But
even
we
a
don't
game
know
of
they're
pool.
necessarily for their
Did you know we're more than that? We're a cause. When you take your jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training.
No.
Take a
They
cardio
go to
class.
Fairway all the time.
While
They
kids
love
are in an after-school enrichment program. Practice your downward-facing dog as a team practices her leadership skills. That's the why.
Their steak is
We work with people no matter their age, income, or background and give them the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive, all with one simple goal in mind, to strengthen our community. And we've got so much more that does just that.
And you probably don't
So while you might think of the Y as that place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. Introducing the Y. We're so much more than a place. We're a cause. Visit ymca.net/more.
Back to Husker Rewind with Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
They're storming the floor. Tim Miles has punched our ticket, Husker fans. It's time to twerk. Let's go dancing.
On 1499.3 KLIN.
Pediatric cancer patient. Oh, I like that stance. See that? Look at him.
Looks like Damon Bennett.
Yeah,
ready to go. So he'll get the handoff.
I am hit.
It is Hoffman running laterally. He's got a puller to the 35. Hoffman to midfield. Hoffman, second level. He's got another gear. They are not going to catch him. Jack Hoffman to the end zone. Husker touchdown.
Oh, there truly is no place like Nebraska.
One of the more iconic moments in Nebraska football history. In the football season, it was the spring game in 2012. Jack Hoffman, of course, passed away this week on Wednesday, and then the funeral was Friday. After a long battle, as we all know, with cancer, the funeral was Friday in Atkinson. Lots of Husker players. Rex Burkhead was there. A lot of former players, coaches close to Jack and his family. Of course, the famous play in 2012. Actually, that was 2013. It all started in 2012 when he got Rex Burkhead got a letter from Andy Hoffman, who was Jack's dad, to see if he could meet with Jack, who was going through some upcoming surgeries. And Rex kind of took it one step further. He started wearing T-shirts and a bracelet, and many other players followed. They had runs for Jack. They made him a big part of the team, and of course, the play followed later on, which won him an ESPY, got him a visit with Barack Obama in the White House. I mean, this thing, it was so organic. I don't think anybody was trying to make it as big as it became. I think it was just Rex Burkhead reaching out to a young kid, trying to make his day better.
Yeah.
And it just grew from that. And, Husker fans, you tell them to or ask them to give to a cause like this, and it blows up. And it not only blew up for Nebraska fans, but people throughout the country gravitated to Jack Hoffman.
Yeah, and Team Jack was formed. That is, a nonprofit aimed at helping fight pediatric.
They raised millions.
Brain cancer, and then most people that know me know my background is racing related as well. I work on a local sprint car, and one of the local drivers was in the Chili Bowl this last week. For those that don't know, the Chili Bowl is down in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Tulsa Expo Center. And they have 387 entries this year. It's literally the biggest midget race on the planet every year. And Don Drow Jr., who has lived in Lincoln his whole life, his dad was a legendary race car driver here in town, so was his brother. And Don's still driving. But he was down there in a midget, and it was a Team Jack midget. That was the sponsorship. And Team Jack was actually on 2 of the cars down there. But what they do to try to help out, and it's amazing. Tremendous family, and sad news, but celebrate all the good that he has done for the world.
I can't imagine what Bree Hoffman is going through. Not only losing her husband a couple of years ago, it's been almost 2 years since Andy passed away to brain cancer. Nothing related to what Jack had. It wasn't connected. It was just a rare brain cancer that he passed away from. And then to lose Jack this week, it's really tough for that family. But man, all they gave, you got to be so proud if you're Bree. Both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Such a huge story, obviously, for Nebraska football fans. I did want to mention this because I brought it up to John Bishop, and I've talked to you about it as well. It's frustrating to me that Nebraska's had so many good Omaha players, and they couldn't land them the first time or the second time. Chucky Hepburn, I think, considered Nebraska, maybe briefly, out of high school. And as Bish said, you can't fault him for choosing Wisconsin. But then a lot of times you think, well, maybe we'll get him on the second time when they transfer. I think he visited Lincoln before choosing Louisville, whose program has been down, really down. They're decent this year, but he's averaging 15 points a game. He would be perfect for Nebraska. He was on the all-defensive Big Ten team at one time. Could you imagine Chucky Hepburn on this team?
Oh, I could.
And how good he would be.
Yeah. And how much better Nebraska would be.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it feels like there's so much pressure on one guy, Bryce Williams, to score at least his average every single night. And when he has days like today, what do you have, 14, you simply can't win. And they still had a chance to win. If they would have made the free throws, they still would have had a chance to win.
Yeah.
And then you've got Hunter Salas from Millard North. Of course, he chose Gonzaga out of high school. You can't blame him for that. He was a 5-star out of high school, in the top 100. He's now at Wake Forest the second time around from Millard North, and he's averaging 19 points a game. He's having a great year. His career, early part of his career didn't go great at Gonzaga, but it's certainly going now really well. St. Thomas is at USC. He's another Millard North kid. He's averaging 10 and 6 at USC. Had 19 in their loss yesterday, I believe, to Wisconsin. They got killed by Wisconsin. Frankie Fiddler, also a Bellevue West kid.
He was at UNO.
He was at UNO and the all-time leading scorer at UNO. I think he set scoring records. Obviously, they haven't been around a ton, but even going back to Nebraska, Omaha, he's set all sorts of scoring records. And now he's at Michigan State coming off the bench, but he averages 10 points a game for the 12th ranked team in the country. If you had any one of these guys, I would take any of them, and you would change this team, the dynamic of this team, instantly, whether you're coming off the bench or you're starting. I just think, I don't know, and Bish explained it, Nebraska's not been dynamic in basketball. They were when Danny Nee was here, and some of his best teams had, Rich King was an Omaha kid. That team went 26.
Badgett.
Yeah, Terrence Badgett.
Even though he only stayed for a year, Andre Woolridge.
But it's always been remember, Moiba couldn't get Ron Kellogg, who went to Kansas and had a great career. Cedric Hunter went to Kansas. They have just not been able, the Lazarettis, the Trotters, I think Marquette, they have not been able to get Nebraska kids to come to Nebraska. Sometimes out, the kids that are are out west, they can get them to come to Nebraska.
Oh yeah. You had Wes Wilkinson.
Yeah. Andy Markowski.
Well, yeah. And who is Bruce Chubbuck? And the running mate. Oh, he came in with
who was that?
With Wes Wilkinson, same class,
Nebraska kid.
Yeah, and I can't. I'll find it.
I'm not thinking about it, but it just feels like Nebraska's just not getting, and there haven't been a lot to choose from. And I'm losing track of a name. Creighton has one right now, who played for Virginia, then transferred to Creighton. There's so many kids that Nebraska has not gotten, and it's mind-boggling that you can't get a few. And maybe it is NIL, or maybe it's just Nebraska's basketball history. But if you look at their facilities, among the best in the country, and I'm hoping it'll change now with revenue sharing. You're hearing that football's going to get $14 million a year to pay players. I think that comes out to like $140,000 per player. That maybe $3 million will go. That's a larger proportion probably for basketball when you're considering only 12 players. Maybe things change with that when you combine revenue sharing coming down the pike with NIL.
Roy Enright.
That
was the other one that I couldn't.
That was a Barry Collier kid.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that one for a long time.
For a good reason.
Yeah. He was not great. He was not great.
No.
In fact, I don't think he played more than 2 years at Nebraska.
No, I don't think he did either. And the funny thing is, he played for Omaha Burke, and you and I did a game.
I remember that.
But it was Wes Wilkinson playing for Grand Island and Omaha Burke, and you and I were on the call for that game because we were talking about we got two Nebraska recruits in the game and all that. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So it's one of my big concerns about Nebraska basketball. They haven't done it for a long time. I mean, but you get the next Rich King in this state. I'd love for him to choose.
You need Rich King the second, but
yeah. There's another thing. Why are these guys having kids that are great to play Nebraska basketball? Really wish they would. Hour number 2, Lance Harvell. We'll talk a little Nebraska baseball. They've got a tough schedule this year. And they try to plan it that way every year. I don't think last year's was as tough as this year's schedule. But I think this is going to be a good team. We've had Evan Bland on from the Omaha World Herald in the past. He's picking them, if not to win the league, right there with Oregon to be up there.
Yeah, he said they're top 4 guaranteed in the league, and they've got as good a shot of anybody to win.
So we'll talk a little Nebraska baseball coming up with Lance Harvell, Nebraska assistant baseball coach, on the way next.
Holidays are a time for celebrations with loved ones. Enjoy the season safely with Let Friedman Drive.
Hi, I'm Dan Friedman. Our Let Friedman Drive program ensures you have a safe ride home after your celebrations during this holiday season. Visit our website for more details and how to get your free and safe ride home December 15th to the 31st.
Friedman Law Offices, ensuring safe holidays for Lincoln.
Join Mark Patrick seminars to lose weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Weight loss seminar Wednesday, January 22nd at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest. Weight loss seminar 5:30. Stop smoking seminar 8. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.com.
How are you?
And take the first step towards an exciting
Good
future.
to have you back on.
Sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
It's been said that when someone you love has Parkinson's, you have Parkinson's.
We'll bring
if
it
you
up.
have questions, the Parkinson's Foundation
we're on in
has
about 2
answers. Learn more at parkinson.org or call 1-800-473-4636.
I love that guy.
From the Momo Pizzeria and Ristorante Studios, we are the voice of Lincoln. KLIN Lincoln. KDDK HD3 Lincoln. K257GN Lincoln is 1499.3 KLIN.
Oh, crap.
Welcome to the best recap of Husker sports. Husker Rewind with your hosts Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Steps, throws down the field. The pass is intercepted. Picked off by Sierra Wright to the 30, 25, 20. Sierra down the near sideline. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Nebraska. Sierra Wright with a pick six for Nebraska.
Here comes the serve. Straight ahead, past Schumacher. Set in the middle. Schmeck out of bounds. We're done. Huskers win. Call the grandkids. Nebraska sweeps Wisconsin on the road, no less.
And for the first time in 41 years, Nebraska knocks off the top-ranked team in the country, and they are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. They are storming the floor. Love it. Sign your name, Fred Hoiberg. There's your signature win.
Breaking ball, that's looped in left field. Gabe Swanson is there. He squeezes it, and your Huskers are Big Ten champions. After losing game one Tuesday night, they come back and win 5 straight and capture the Big Ten tournament for the first time since joining the league. And the dog pile is ongoing in front of the plate.
Now, here's Tom Stevens and Mike Melby on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back, hour number 2. Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens and Mike Melby here every Sunday from 5 to 7. I'm trying to think of Nebraska kids that didn't choose Nebraska or maybe were considering Nebraska and chose another school. Isaac Trout was the kid I was trying to think of from Grand Island. He was a top 50 player coming out of high school, went to Virginia, played for Tony Bennett for maybe a year or two, and then has transferred to Creighton and comes off the bench for the Blue Jays. The Nebraska baseball team will open their season February 14th through the 16th in the Major League Baseball Desert Invitational in Phoenix. Huskers begin the season against UC Irvine, who was 45-14 last year. Then they'll take on Vanderbilt, 38-23, and San Diego State. Wow. You guys aren't messing around as we bring in Lance Harvell, Nebraska assistant baseball coach. That is a tough opening schedule, Coach.
Yeah, you can thank Coach Childress for that one. He's in charge of scheduling, and he dialed up a doozy there. That's a schedule that says we would like a top 15 RPI and a host a regional, please.
Do you ever have a veto on some of these teams that you're playing in the preseason?
No. Number one, I stay out of it completely. He handles it, and he is a master of that, of constructing a schedule. And number two, that's the kind of schedule you want to play. I mean, it is a highly competitive. You got great matchups, great weekends. Up and down the season there. Home games, road games. It's got everything, and I couldn't be looking forward to it any more than I am.
And I'm guessing it's a selling point for some recruits, right? They want to play. Good players want to play against good players.
Absolutely they do. And coaches, when you're competitive, that's what you want to do, and you want to go put your team up against other good teams and good programs and see what you got. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's not just the opening weekend either from the non-conference slate. You've got GCU again, which is always pretty damn good. Louisiana's on there. You've got Oregon State. Granted, it's going to be at Haymarket Park, but you're talking a 2-time national champion, and they're somewhere in the top 10 right now, aren't they? Wichita State as well. I mean, Pepperdine. This is loaded non-conference schedule.
Yeah, it's loaded with good teams and historically good programs. It's loaded with teams that have preseason All-Americans and top prospects. And the beautiful part is we've got a few of those too. And so yeah, it's exactly what you want as a competitor and all of that. And specifically too, it couldn't be the way we kind of look at it for the team that we have, as much age and experience as we have, as many guys we have, not only coming back from last year's team that got the chance to win a championship and experience, what it's like to dogpile and then go play in a regional, against really good teams. But the guys that are coming in, that have years of experience, that's the team you want. That's the team we've been building since we've been here, to go take on a schedule like that.
Well, tell us about
the team, because you're preseason top 25, so high expectations for
this year's Nebraska baseball team. What kind of team is it going to be this year?
Well, like I said, it's going to be a lot of experience, and kind of the rule of thumb, just what's always the old adage when you're writing down a lineup, you kind of go 1 through 9, and you write how many years of experience each guy has, and if that number totals up, you add up 1 through 9. If that totals up to like 25 or more, then you've got a really experienced, and you feel good about that group. And just about every combination of lineup that we write out, that number comes out to 30 plus. And so it's an old team. It might be the oldest, just one of the oldest, if not the oldest team I've ever coached and been on. And with that comes a lot of depth. I think this is not only very talented group positionally and on the mound, but from a depth standpoint, it's the best that we've had.
You guys have got 7 position players that started at least 43 games for you last year. Is there another team in college baseball that has that kind of experience coming back? That's insane.
I don't know, but I would be shocked if there was. And the pieces that we lost, in Josh Karen and Cole Evans and those guys from the position player standpoint, we're bringing in Hogan Eligso behind the plate. That's been a 3-year starter at Creighton. And then Cale Frost, in the outfield, that was the Summit League Player of the Year at South Dakota State last year. So it's not like you're giving up any more experience with new guys. I mean, it's guys that have been through it and seen just about everything that college baseball has to offer. And so, it's kind of I was kind of laughing thinking about what we would talk about and how this would go. Cause it's like, well, we could talk about the team and some of the new guys, but there's just not many of them. So it's pretty much just kind of a rinse and repeat kind of a roster.
I'm guessing
that makes the job a little bit easier. And I know Garrett, you benefited from the new rule with JUCOs.
The NCAA was ruled that any eligibility that they played in JUCO ball, junior college ball, will not carry over now to the college level, the Division I level. And
so Nebraska football benefited from this. Deshaun Simmons is coming back
for another year and playing safety for Nebraska football. You've got a few guys just like that, right?
Yeah, that was it was kind of a surprising kind of a thing when you heard rumors of that first kind of swirling, and when the case with Pavia, that came out.
The Vandy quarterback, yeah.
I mean, nobody knew what it was actually going to look like. I had former players that back from when I was coaching in Texas that had been JUCO guys that are texting me going like, I got one more year, man, let's run it back. But no, so there's some stipulations there, obviously, that in requirements that they have to meet. So it's guys that that played in junior college that this year would have exhausted their eligibility, either all 4 years or their 5-year window,
right.
Get the extra year. And we have 5 guys on our team that meet that requirement. And so, that's 5 guys. When you start to look at a lot of the new legislation and the rule changes and the things that are going on in college athletics, and specifically with college baseball, they're changing the roster limit to 34 next year. So we're moving from 40 to 34. So we're cutting it down to 6. And then we find out we have 5 guys eligible that we thought were going to be gone out of eligibility next year that now have a chance to come back. That's it's a big job. And and it's one that, you know, takes a lot of delicate maneuvering, but it's, you know, when you look at it, as far as the benefit of it, for sure, you're getting back guys that potentially have been in the program for multiple years, that have had a lot of success, and you know, have been around the block, and those are all good things for us.
So you can only keep 34. So there's going to be some hard conversations, I'm guessing, down the road.
Yeah. So they've this just came about in the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so. They'll let us have 38 guys in the fall, but we've got to cut that down to 34. Whereas now we usually have about 45 or 46 in the fall that we then have to cut down to 40 in the spring, and that's the number we're at right now. We're at 40 right now, but you know, if this is 1 year from now, you know, we're going to be six less guys in that locker room and out on the field, and it's a daunting task looking out there at the roster, or looking at the depth chart and trying to find 6 guys that you would, you know, take off your team, is not easy. And yeah, from the personal side of it, you know, like you kind of alluded to, it's not a fun conversation, because it's guys that have put a lot of time and work in, that you've got relationships with on and off the field, and you know, they're part of your family, and you've got to tell them that they no longer have an opportunity. It's not a fun conversation to have on either side of it. But that's, you know, that's college athletics nowadays, and that's what we're tasked with.
Nebraska baseball hitting coach Lance Harvell joining us on the Summit Lawns talk and text line. Let's talk a little bit about the team as well, specifically on the pitching staff. You're 26 days away from first pitch against UC Irvine and Scottsdale. Will Walsh is going to be your Friday night starter, yes, no? And then who else is going to join him on the weekend, do you think?
I don't know if Walsh will be the Friday night guy, but that's all still up. I'm not saying he will. I'm not saying he won't. But he will definitely be in the mix for that the weekend rotation. The Friday night role is still up for grabs. I mean, when you're talking about guys like Will, that, you know, that spent time in the weekend rotation last year, you know, Drew Christo also did. I think Worthley got maybe a couple starts on the weekend last year. But Mason McConaughey, you know, that really established himself last year, and probably the last down the stretch of the season last year, really became behind Sears in that Saturday starter role. You know, really shined and really kind of settled in for us and solidified our weekend rotation. So he is absolutely going to be in the mix. He's a preseason All Big Ten guy, and just kind of that workhorse, kind of prototypical Friday night type of guy. Tyner Horn has been electric. You know, the way he kind of finished the season last year, when he pitched against Florida, I kind of not that he hadn't pitched before, and that you know, it wasn't like his first time out of the gate, but I kind of feel like that regional, when he threw against Florida, was kind of his coming out party. You just kind of saw a different version of him. And it was a little bit bigger moment against obviously a really good opponent. They ended up making a College World Series, and his stuff played up in that moment. And you could kind of see the attitude and the persona kind of come out on the mound down there at the regional. And that's how he came out, and he was that guy all fall against our guys. And he probably has the best pure stuff on our staff, with that kind of attitude, you know, to back it up. He's going to definitely be in the weekend mix too. And then, you know, you got guys like Jackson Brockett. You know, I mentioned some of those other guys, Walsh, Christo, Worley, but Jackson Brockett, and obviously the no-hitter last year, but he threw really well in that championship game in the Big Ten tournament. He had a solid fall, and he's kind of continued to just kind of better and better and better and better. And so I think all those guys have a chance to start. When that's going to be, whether it's Friday, Saturday, but, you know, those weekends or those early games, you know, we're playing 4 games, you know, and on the road and just playing a lot. We're going to find out about our staff and what we got. But just talking about the depth. I mean, we mentioned all those guys that are coming back, but some of these new guys, Luke Broderick, Price Bender, TJ Coates, like those guys are going to factor in big time. Broderick is a top prospect, a JUCO signee from Iowa Western. He's a Nebraska kid that is one of the top prospects in the country on the mound. Got a chance to close for us, and maybe a guy that some people know he redshirted for us last year, but he's made a jump this year. Carson Yassa, he's 6'7", and it's like a little bit kind of last year working through some things, trying to get him all the moving parts working together, and it clicked for him over the summer, and he came back from summer ball and was dialed in, and I mean, you're talking mid to upper 90s with multiple pitches. He was up to 98 the other day and live back, and so he's kind of one of those guys that, I mean, just that guy, redshirt freshman that you roll out with. I mean, that's going to be up there as far as stuff goes. Like, his stuff is as electric as anywhere you're going to see in the country. You roll that guy out there on a midweek, a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and that could be pretty special. And that's been kind of the bugaboo, just to kind of talk about the room.
Yep.
Is those midweek games, and kind of finding what formula is going to work to start winning those games more consistently, and not going 500 in the midweeks or not dropping games that you don't feel like you should. And having a guy like that on the mound definitely helps.
Absolutely. Lenny Tarvell, Nebraska
baseball assistant.
You've always been a coach that, you run the offense. You like to hit and run. You like to steal bases. You like to be aggressive. Is this that type of team?
Well, this year, yeah. I mean, I think we're still gonna run. I think a similar offense. Maybe not quite as much. You and I haven't talked in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Coach Sirianni, we've kind of switched up. Coach Sirianni is gonna coach third, and I'm just focusing more on the recruiting thing. Again, some of the dynamic shifts and everything with everything going on in college baseball and college athletics period. I mean, it's a full-time job. And so, but we're still going to have that element to our offense. But I think we've got the pieces to do that, the pieces to run when we need to, the pieces to hit and run when we need to, or bunt. We can play the small ball game. But, having the experience that we have, having the talent in the lineup that we have, and having all those guys, quite a few of those guys last year that were JUCO players. Sometimes it could be tough coming from a junior college to Division I baseball, and kind of your first year seeing that pitching day in and day out. You can get beat up a little bit, but having all those guys back now in their second year, having been through it, they're just that much better off. And so I think we have maybe a little more of a lineup like we had in 2023 with Matthews and Max.
Wow.
And Swanson, he's obviously back still here this year, but where we might be able to bop a little bit more as opposed to just trying to create offense with the running game or the short game. I think we've got the ability to hit some more doubles and home runs this year.
You still have Riley Silva, 32 out of 35 stolen bases last year. So I'm guessing you're still going to run on occasion.
Yeah, the guys that can run, they got the green light. But yes, no, it's when you have those type guys, the Silvas and and there's still guys that are going to be kind of some of these new guys. I mean, Robbie Boland, another guy that, junior college guy, one of the top 10 JUCO prospects in the country that got to a D1 this year, but he was a Team USA guy and a JUCO All-American. I mean, he can run. I mean, up and down the line, we've got athletic guys that can run. Now, not a lot of them can run like Silva can run. But yeah, we'll still have that element for sure where, where we can run on guys and and just that's been a big emphasis this year, is just maybe kind of being a little bit more savvy, maybe is a way to put it. Again, you've got older guys that have seen it and been through it. They know how to kind of steal those 90 feet at a time.
Sure.
If that makes sense. It's like the inches you have to grab in the course of a game to go win it, and putting yourself in position to score runs. And how, I mean, when you put it in very simple terms, how can we get around the bases? Because it can't always just come down to driving guys in, because that's really hard to do. But if we can put ourselves in position, like you said, with the running game, whether that's stealing bases or just, being really good at dirt ball reads or understanding situational base running, we've really tried to do just teaching the game, as weird as it sounds, teaching the game to an older group, but just making sure everybody's on the same page with kind of what we're trying to do. There's been a big emphasis in that this year.
Can't wait for the baseball season to start February 14th through the 16th in the Major League Baseball Desert Invitational. That's going to be fun. Before I let you go, Coach, Bob, you ever get to meet him?
I never did. I would have loved to. But no, I never did. I mean, about my only experience other than just hearing stories and different things like that, seeing them on TV from time to time. I mean, was there a better character? As good of a movie as Major League was, maybe the best baseball movie of all time, arguably could be. You could.
I'm with you.
But was there a better character in that whole cast of characters?
No.
Bob Uecker stuck out, and he was my kind of broadcaster. We'll say that.
Well, we can't wait to have you back to talk baseball this year. I hope you're in for that.
Yes, I am in. I'm all in on that.
All right. Thanks, Lance. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Nebraska assistant baseball coach Lance Harvell talking a little Husker baseball. Going to get going in about 3 weeks.
When he said we're going to have a little bit more pop than we did last year, and he brings up Bryce Matthews and Max Anderson, the smile on my face, I'm just like, oh yeah,
those guys were so much fun to watch.
But if they've got
100 home runs that year,
yeah, if they've got some pop, and I mean, Josh Overbeek as well was another guy. He had 16 or 17 stolen bases last year. He's back.
Top 25 team.
Yeah, number 21. They're going to be fun. Haymarket Park is going to be rocking this spring.
I love having Lance on. Love having Mike Schaefer on as well.
We should do that.
Of Husker 24/7. We have him on all the time. We're going to have him on in just a few minutes. Mike Schaefer is coming up.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, stop smoking. In addition, lose all the weight 100% guaranteed with Mark Patrick seminars. Let hypnosis destroy unwanted cravings and lose the weight. Seminar Wednesday, January 22nd at the Holiday Inn Lincoln Southwest in Lincoln. Weight loss seminar 5:30. Stop smoking seminar 8. Registration 30 minutes before seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com. Central Valley Ag is hiring transport drivers in the Dayton, Nebraska area. You'll be responsible for hauling a variety of agricultural products, including feed, grain, and fertilizer. Enjoy competitive pay, an extensive suite of benefits, and opportunities to grow your career. Apply today at cvacoop.com/careers. Central Valley Ag, growing agriculture together.
Save big money at Menards and stock up on your favorite Procter & Gamble products. We carry quality products from trust,
How are you?
like Tide, Bounty, and more. Keep your home clean and stocked with essentials like paper towels, toilet paper, dish soap, and more. Now through January 26th, head to Menards to get a great deal on qualifying Procter & Gamble products. Plus, view the weekly flyer for other great deals.
Anti-Chiefs or pro-Chiefs?
Save big money at Menards.
If you're a veteran, our nation has created a wide range of benefits to thank you for your service, but it can be difficult to navigate the process of determining eligibility, filing claims, appealing decisions, and securing the benefits you've earned. Speak to your county veteran service officer or the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs State Service Office to see what's available to you and your family. These services are 100% free, so visit veterans.nebraska.gov today. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was actually happy that Washington. I think Washington's a good story.
For less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to goodrx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Are you still all in on Darnold or out?
Back to Husker Rewind with Mike Melby and Tom Stevens. Old enough to remember Nebraska's national titles.
Oh, they don't have him yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
Yeah, young enough to remember what they had for lunch.
How about a nice, greasy pork sandwich served in a dirty ashtray?
On 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back. Final half hour. Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. Been a fun show. Had John Bishop in the first hour. He was sad about his Rams, but he got through it. They fall to the Eagles today. Lance Harvell talking a little Husker baseball, and now we welcome in Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7. I won't talk Vikings with you much at all. We agreed before the show wouldn't be a lot of Vikings talk. Have you gotten over it though? You okay?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, I didn't think this year was going to end in a Super Bowl anyways. It's just when you have a fun 14-2 start to your year and then it ends with 2 straight losses, it's a little jarring. But look, if I only stuck around for Minnesota Vikings football because of what they do in January, I think I'd have given up a long time ago.
Right. I mean, I'm just used to getting the chair pulled out on me, and I'm expecting it. And yet this year I got excited, and that I got fooled again. By that's the frustrating thing being a Vikings fan. So we'll talk more about Husker football. I heard you say on your podcast the other day that maybe Nebraska won't hire a special teams coordinator. Is that what I got from that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the makeup of this staff is going to look like, because you have a defensive coordinator, you have a defensive line coach, you have a linebackers coach, you have an outside linebackers coach, you have a defensive back coach, you now have Phil Snow, and you haven't lost any offense. Like, I don't understand, you're limited to the amount of full-time assistant coaches that you have on the field coaches. And so it's conceivable to me that is a thing that Phil Snow undertakes a larger role in special teams, or Matt Rule is going to be really involved with it, plus an analyst. Or maybe they just go hire a guy and they just haven't completely shifted their staff. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what this all looks like.
Bishop's philosophy, Mike, that maybe there's a guy coaching still in the NFL playoffs or possibly the national championship game tomorrow night that they're waiting on.
That's entirely possible. I mean, I had that same kind of philosophy when it came to the end of the NFL regular season, but I just don't know what way this is going to go. I mean, and then, the other thing of it is we haven't really been, informed exactly what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen E.J. Barthel out. We've seen Donovan Raiola out. Marcus Satterfield's offered like 75 tight ends in the last 2 weeks. So it seems like those guys are all coming back. I haven't noticed anything from Glenn Thomas. So maybe Dana Holgerson's going to continue coaching quarterbacks, and then that frees up a spot that you can use for special teams coordinator. That could be a thing. So, it's one of those. I haven't gotten any concrete information that makes me think that Nebraska is 100% going to have a special teams coordinator. It seems likely, but there's a lot of different ways that this can go, and there's still some other moves that have to happen. It's been a very odd offseason in terms of the flow of how coaches have been introduced, announced, or even what the staff looks like. They're going to start winter conditioning here on January 22nd. We don't really have a great indication as to, exactly what Nebraska's staff is.
Even with it all discombobulated with the staff right now, the recruiting out of the portal has been solid outside of with Shiaz Pete committing to Kentucky today. Offensive line, they only get one offensive line commit. Realistically, they could have probably used 3. They were in on a lot of big names, a lot of guys that would have been guaranteed starters, walked in and been a difference maker. Where's the failure with getting offensive linemen through the portal? They've kind of swung and missed a lot in the last couple of years.
I mean, the failure has nothing to do with the portal. The failure is that you don't trust the offensive linemen that you've been recruiting and developing the last few years. I mean, to me, Nebraska can't be a program that can go into the portal and get a guy every year for the offensive line. I just don't think that's realistic. You look at how many teams are trying to go into the portal. You look at the financial cost of it. I have a pretty strong belief that Nebraska assumed that it was going to be at one level, and offensive linemen have been 60, 75% more expensive than they would have thought. I also don't think, there used to be a way that you were talking about how a team couldn't close in recruiting. I don't think you can do that in the NIL portal era because it's not about closing. It's about these guys, some of them aren't even really making their own decisions. It's being negotiated at a table that doesn't even involve them, has their representation, and there's certain numbers that Nebraska is just going to be limited because they have a bigger roster and they have to be able to spread that wealth. And, they can't spend $3 million on an offensive lineman or even maybe $2.5 million on an offensive lineman. So, there's a lot of money out there. It's a very weird situation. But to me, if we were going to talk about failure, the failure is you have to be able to develop offensive linemen. You have to be able to recruit offensive linemen. You have to be able to evaluate offensive linemen. They need to be able to move forward. And frankly, I mean, Nebraska's gone out and they've gotten guys in the last few years, and you've had super seniors largely just plugging up what you've had on the offensive line. I think it's time to see what your offensive line recruiting is able to do.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7, our guest. Some say maybe you need another running back, maybe definitely an offensive tackle. How would you grade Nebraska's portal recruiting up to this point?
I'd say, solid, I think is what was used earlier. I think that's fair. I mean, they've done a nice job, and they've done a nice job in a variety of areas. Like they obviously they have the one offensive lineman, and you could argue that they need to have another one, but at least they're not empty-handed there. So they have a tackle option in Elijah Pritchett, and they've got guys in the secondary now. They've got guys on the defensive line. I think the one thing that I remain curious about is what it looks like in the interior of your defensive line. Do you have a nose guard? Because they had a couple guys that seemed like they were going to come in to visit that either Nebraska canceled the visit on or they weren't able to host. And judging by where they ended up, it would strike me more that Nebraska canceled it. But I'm a little curious what it looks like in the interior of your defensive line. I think we spent a lot of time talking about the offensive line. I think they're having a tougher time replacing Nash Hutmaker. And maybe Riley Van Poppel is just that guy. I thought he'd be more the replacement of Ty Robinson, but we'll see what that looks like. And maybe they're going to play more of a 4-man front instead of a 3. So there's a lot of different ways that this can go. Running back, it seems like, Emmett Johnson is their guy. And then they like the 2 freshmen they have in the class of 2025 this year with, Jamarian Parker and Connor Booth.
Yeah.
So many names.
Yeah, there's a lot of names. Here's another name for you. Xavier Lucas. I don't know if you heard about the story. He's a defensive back for Wisconsin, signed a 2-year deal with Miami, but he hadn't jumped into the portal. And now Wisconsin is crying foul, saying that Lucas previously agreed to a deal with Wisconsin, then changed his mind, was going to sign the deal, then jump in the portal. We've heard Matt Rule talk about tampering in college sports and how his players tell him that they're called all the time. How do you stop it, do you think?
There's no way to stop it. And the dirty secret of it is the players are just as guilty as anyone else. So you can't exactly feel bad for them. And you can't feel bad for the programs because they're guilty too. I mean, are we going to pretend like Nebraska didn't just magically end up with Williams Winery minutes after he went into the portal or
Right.
in this cycle? Like, I mean, so I think that it's basically kind of unfortunately the stupid cliche of all is fair and what is it, love and war? I don't know.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's sort of where we're at this point in time. I mean, I difficult for the coaching staff, and I think it's difficult for players. But I know of far too many situations where a recruit who's not even in the portal or a player who's not even in the portal is reaching out to programs just to gauge what the interest would be before he goes in, because they don't want to put themselves in a situation where, you know, it's January 20th and they don't have a school yet. So it's an awkward deal. I don't know that there's going to be an easy way around it. I think if you could find some sort of deterrent and that everyone could agree upon, that you would. But, you know, as we have seen, anything that gets enacted is only going to be challenged through the court of law, and the court of law has just thrown open the doors to college athletics in a way that none of us anticipated. So it's kind of a unique deal.
Let's switch gears a little bit. Nebraska basketball has channeled their inner Scott Frost here in late games. The last four. What's going on with Fred's guys right now?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a great answer for this, but it just feels like just a little short on a lot of different things. They don't have enough shooters. It doesn't feel like they're athletic enough. They don't have enough guys on their team that you can consistently know going into a game that you're going to get at least a B-plus game out of. I mean, you don't even necessarily have one guy, because sometimes Bryce hasn't even given you that. But it's really difficult going into a game. And you had Juwan Gary score 20 points against Rutgers and then provide very little against Maryland. You had Connor Estigian go, you know, have his best game in a while against Rutgers and then have that cut in half against Maryland. And previously against Purdue and Iowa, he was a total non-factor. You have Andrew Morgan go for 17 points early in the second half and then just not be found or not available or not used, you know, moving forward. So I think consistency is a really tough thing for this team to find right now. And it's consistency in shooting. It's consistency in closing out on you know, the defensive and offensive glass. It's consistency in your effort in terms of defensive rotation. There's just a lot of stuff that is not happening in a way that I think Fred Hoiberg wants. And the hard part is the season's not over. I mean, if they would have won today, they would have come out of that stretch 1-3, which is sort of what people expected with the win being the home game. Instead, they're 0-4 out of it, and now they have to find wins, and they have to find them in a hurry. But I wouldn't count them out yet, but this doesn't feel like it's going to be a tournament season. It feels more like the NIT is kind of where they could land.
Hey, what's your take on what's happening? The Department of Education has stepped in and said that now revenue sharing has to be equal among all sports, that football can't hog it all. That's not really going to happen, right? I mean, that's when we get to the football season, the football team is still going to get $14 million and everybody else is going to get what's left.
Yeah, I mean, I let other people sort this out. It's honestly, it's one of those things that, you know, it's beyond my comprehension or even ability to even offer a take on it, because, you know, with Title IX, they have to figure out the legal ramifications of it. They have to figure out the equality ramifications of it. But, you know, if it's just a blank, this is a war chest and you can spend it how you want, then it really shouldn't be dictated by the Department of Education or anybody else. It should be chosen by the athletic department. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. But look, you know, you're at Nebraska and you have a great volleyball team, and you can make the argument that it makes more sense to make sure that they're taken care of than a football team that's biggest season in the last 8 years with 7 wins. Now, that would ignore all the money and everything else, but someone is probably going to make that argument. Yep. Someone's going to talk about how the women's basketball team is more likely to make the NCAA tournament than the men's team. But again, you know, there's got to be a way that we can get through this. There's got to be a way that we can have conversations in January where we're more focused on the national championship than we are talking about courtroom decisions and Congress and everything else. That's not why any of us here got into college athletics or do what we do. So we can talk about Supreme Court decisions or anything like that. I mean, if that's really what I wanted to do, I would have chosen a different track of journalism.
Yeah.
But I thought I did my best to avoid it, and yet we still end up full circle.
Well, for a guy that didn't have a take, that was a pretty good take, I thought. But there's a national championship game tomorrow night. Ohio State 8.5. Does that sound right to you?
It's probably right. The fascinating thing is Notre Dame to win this title when the bracket came out. So I didn't think they'd be playing Ohio State because I didn't think they'd be getting this version of Ohio State. But it's going to be a game where they play really tight. Like both teams just show up and play tight. And it's kind of you know how that Penn State game was where we wouldn't call it a quality football game? But like they're playing hard, they're hitting hard, but you can tell that these guys, the weight's on them, you know, and never played in a game of this magnitude. And Riley Leonard's never played in a game of this magnitude. And obviously they played in their semifinals, their quarterfinals, but like this is the game. And so I'm fascinated to see what that looks like. I'm interested to see if Notre Dame comes out the aggressor. I think that's really their only chance here. Is they have to be aggressive from the jump. They can't find their way into this game. Their defense has to be active. They have to get after Will Howard a little bit. I think Ohio State's offensive line can be had, but you've got to do the work. And Notre Dame, I think, can do that. But they're at a talent disadvantage like most teams are when you play Ohio State. And I just think what Ohio State has in the passing game is going to be too much. I'll stick with my pick of Notre Dame, but I don't really believe in it based on what we've seen from Ohio State. You know, really with the Tennessee and Oregon game. I think the version that played Texas, I think Notre Dame can beat that team.
Yeah, I would agree. Great stuff. I'll let you get back to another good game. Bills-Ravens, 14-10 Bills right now with the Ravens.
Getting a little extracurricular activity out there, and the flags are not flying. I'm very curious.
I like it.
What? I think they're giving a lot of leeway to the footing of the field.
That's right.
And also just like they don't want to be involved in critical moments. Like people want to watch these teams play, not the refs.
If it were a Chiefs game, there'd be
like on every other play, especially if it were Mahomes.
You're preaching to the choir.
Good stuff, Mike. We'll talk soon. Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys.
There you
Thanks
go.
for having me on. Have a great one.
Yep. Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. Talking a little football, a little basketball, little stuff here, little stuff there. We'll finish up the show. We've got we'll catch you up on the NFL scores. Yep. And I do want to talk about how the officiating has gone. If you're a Chiefs fan, you may not like it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Coming up.
Holidays are a time for celebrations with loved ones. Enjoy the season safely with Let Friedman Drive.
Hi, I'm Dan Friedman. Our Let Friedman Drive program ensures you have a safe ride home after your celebrations during this holiday season. Visit our website for more details and how to get your free and safe ride home December 15th to the 31st.
Roger Goodell would have publicly Friedman Law Offices, ensuring safe holidays for Lincoln.
And it's the hit jerk.
Does it seem like your clothes dryer doesn't dry like it used to? It may not be your dryer. It may be your dryer vent. When the vent becomes obstructed, it drastically reduces the efficiency of your dryer. Even worse, it can be a fire hazard. Here's the simple solution. Call Bryant.
We never did do our Big Ten Blitz.
Show you the before and after results. Call 467-1111. Keep your dryer operating efficiently and your home safe. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Join Mark Patrick seminars. Lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. Seminar Wednesday, January 22nd at the Holiday Inn Southwest in Lincoln. Weight loss seminar starts at 5:30. Registration 5. Smoking starts at 8. Registration 7:30.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or avacin-capted Pagal is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale.
We get it delicious.
Extend your spine.
Because
Remain focused on what you're doing.
We'll come back with chili talk.
Well,
the party
there were Chiefs
Exhale slowly, leaning to one side.
Take it back. Sure.
Inhale back to center.
Chili. It's chili weather.
To do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side.
Yeah, there you
Find
go.
mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
If only life had a remote control, you could pause or rewind. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. Take the 1-minute risk test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Especially if there's nothing going on. Yeah. I don't get it.
It's the most complete weekly recap of Husker sports.
Snap is down. The kick is up. The kick is on its way. The kick is
Every year. You don't.
57 yards out of school record to put the Huskers in front 33-31.
Well, we play. I mean, a lot of these guys,
Mike
it sounds like
Melby and Tom Stevens on 1499.3 KLIN.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens over there.
Hey, that's me.
It
Over
is.
here.
My name is Mike Melby. And Tom, you brought up officiating, NFL officiating. We may touch on some other types
It's
of
terrible.
officiating. So, and you said Chiefs fans may not like it. Well,
No.
let me give you a little what my world was like last night. So my girlfriend Tracy's got a home haunters club. And
Home what?
so we're big
Home
into
haunter.
Halloween.
Oh,
so-
the Halloween thing.
So
Home
there's a
Haunters
lot of
Club.
people that take it really seriously, and she has a club that we've had for several years, and last night was the annual chili cook-off.
Right.
And there were 2 Chiefs fans that came that said that they demanded that I have the Chiefs game on. And both of the
One of
calls
those.
that went against whoever they were playing, because I've just completely escaped. Anyway,
The Texans.
The
They
Texans,
played
the
the
two
Texans.
the 2 hits on Mahomes, that the one wasn't even a hit on Mahomes. And the other, they touched him. It was all shoulder pads.
The 2 guys that tried to hit Mahomes ended up hitting each other.
Yeah,
They went
how
helmet to they missed completely Mahomes.
Yeah. Those 2, when both of those plays happened, screaming and yelling, "Where's the flag? Where's the
Yeah.
They almost weren't going to throw that." And they show replays, and the announcers are like, "No, that's not a foul."
You know what I thought of immediately? It was a different kind of hit, but Dylan Raiola in the bowl game against BC, where it was really not.
No.
It was not a foul. Should not have been called a foul. It was called a
Well,
foul.
he
and then-
slid late.
Yeah, he slid late.
Just-
and the guy missed him. The guy completely missed him.
Mahomes slid even later than what Dylan did. So
Yeah.
watching a game with avid Chiefs fans is nauseating. Luckily, the chili was good. Nobody threw up. So,
Are you making chili? Are you still have some chili left? You
I got
should have brought
chili
some
left,
in.
and we it was the weirdest thing. I've never heard of this before, but one of the people made a traditional chili, a little bit of tomato sauce and some hamburger and some onions and whatever, and they put an entire bag of little Smokies in the chili.
Ooh,
and
delicious.
I'm looking at it, and I'm
That's
I'm
not
like,
even really
that's
chili.
wrong. This violates
It seems
a
wrong.
law somewhere. It doesn't. It is delicious. Oh my goodness.
Chili's. Well, did they have the black beans with the Smokies?
They didn't have any black beans in their chili.
Because I've
they
seen
just had kind of chili
Smokies
beans
with just like baked beans, right?
Yeah, but
That's what
this
people
was
do.
a true traditional chili beans and
Uh-huh.
just your normal seasoning and all that. But the little Smokies in there, I was super skeptical, but I am a believer now.
I can't cook, but I make pretty decent chili. I use tomato soup.
Yeah, you said I'm going to try that.
Yeah, tomato soup with chili beans, a couple of different varieties, maybe the red beans and the black beans.
Yeah.
And I like to put a little salsa along with the ground beef.
See, that's a good idea too.
It's delicious. And this is chilly weather. You just watch all these NFL games. You think,
well, right now, yeah,
this is chilly weather. We were talking about the Chiefs. They beat the Texans yesterday, 23-14. It was really closer than that, but the Chiefs advanced to the AFC Championship because that's what Roger Goodell wants for the 7th straight year. Kansas City is going for a three-peat, as we all know. Taylor Swift is up there with Caitlin Clark, and they're whispering sweet nothings into each other's ear and talking about Travis Kelce and whoever Caitlin is dating. And they're watching the game. They might have missed the calls, but there were 2 really bad calls.
Yep.
And it seems like there's one every game anymore. And it's you could say, well, that didn't cost them the game because they won 23-14, but maybe it did. You don't know.
Well,
those kept drives alive.
Well, that's the whole point. Is almost every single game that the Kansas City Chiefs play, there is a horrible call that goes against the other team, and it normally is on 3rd down.
And is there a team in the history of mankind that's gotten more breaks?
Oh yeah.
Like if it doinks off the upright and it's a Chiefs kicker,
Easy enough for you to say.
It's going through the uprights. If it's another guy, if it's the opposing team, it's always going to bounce off and be no good. They get every single break. It's not. And by the way, Mahomes is pretty good. He doesn't need the officials to help him, but they do anyway. And did you see he was on the sidelines. He's going out of bounds. He gets pushed and he does the whole fake fall.
Oh yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah,
Stop it.
That almost started a fist fight because when he did it, I cannot repeat what was said out loud about him. It was very unkind towards him. And one of the girls that came over that was the big Chiefs fan got up and there were words exchanged and we had to calm everybody down.
It just makes me mad. Hey, the Chiefs are good enough. They don't need the officials' help, but it's almost like we got to get them to the AFC Championship. We got to get them to the Super Bowl. We got to have Taylor keep going to these games.
I want to throw out another, just on the officiating side. I noticed it watching Nebraska, Maryland today. The amount of times that college basketball players travel is astounding to me, because by the letter of the law, there should have been about 75 traveling violations.
They all do the Euro step now.
It's not even the Euro step part, but you'll have a guy that will catch the ball. He'll take 2 steps, he'll pivot, and then he'll pivot on the other foot. And it's like, no, you can't do that. The 2 steps is it. You're done.
Right.
And the other thing is the number of double dribbles that are missed. If a guy knocks the ball away and dribbles it and then picks it back up, like as he's knocking the ball away, he dribbles the ball and then grabs it.
I think a lot of it is
to dribble. That's double dribble.
I think a lot of it is how cool you are. Like if you're cool and you make it look like you didn't double dribble, even though you did, you get away with it. If you're kind of klutzy and you make it look like you double dribbled because you did, then they're going to call it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the missed travel calls, and it's just now accepted. It's just widely accepted. It's the NBA. NBA, you get
it's NBA officiating.
Yeah,
and you're seeing the and ones called more liberally as well. A guy will get fouled in the act, and he's 3 steps short of the hoop, and he's fouled, 10 feet short of the hoop. I just think he's going to get, and he's fouled. And he makes the shot. He's going to get it. He gets the benefit of the doubt much more often.
How many times has he noticed that an official
will wait to see if the ball goes in
before he'll call a foul?
Yeah.
If it's a good, there's contact, ball's bouncing on the rim, and you'll have an official, and he's got the whistle in his mouth, and the ball goes in, and he puts the whistle away.
If it doesn't go in,
if it doesn't go in, he's like, oh nope, that was a foul.
Right.
But if it bounces around and goes in, he's like, oh nope,
I'm going to give you style points because you made the hoop.
Yep.
I mentioned this to Mike. I want to get your take on it. The Department of Education on Friday said that NIL payments must be Title IX compliant and equal across all sports, meaning football won't just be able to get all the money or most of the money. Right now, in the majority of cases in the Power 5, they get 75% of the money, the football program, and the rest is divvied up to the other sports. The Department of Education is saying, no, we want it equally distributed to all sports. which is crazy to me in that obviously football generates the revenue, the bulk of the revenue. And the reason you have Nebraska can field however many sports they have, I don't know, 20 some, is because of football and the TV contracts that they're in agreement with. I mean, Nebraska's getting close to $55-60 million. I don't know what the current Big Ten contract is, but that pays for everything. And now, because of revenue sharing, Nebraska, all 105 players are going to get, I think the estimate is $140,000 a piece. So $14 to $15 million of the 21 point something million will go to football. I'm hearing maybe 3 million will go to basketball, 1 million to volleyball, 1 million to women's basketball. And that's how it's going to be done. But if the Department of Education gets their way, which I don't think they will, I don't see how they will, knowing the power that these leagues have, the SEC, the Big Ten in particular, and the commissioners involved. I don't see how it's ever going to change. You think that it will?
I don't know. That's what worries me is the power of the lobbyists or the people that are going to want to see this play out. Nebraska currently has 22 sports, 13 women's sports and 9 men's sports.
Okay.
But to me, whoever generates the revenue should get the compensation. If I think Nebraska volleyball should get more than their fair share from the standpoint of what they do, what they generate. They're probably, I believe this is a fact and it's been proven, they're the only major college volleyball program that actually turns a profit.
Right. And they make maybe $100,000
80 to $100,000 a year. But bottom line is you're not spending $3 million a year on a volleyball program that generates $500,000 in revenue. You're spending $3 million on a volleyball program that makes $3.1 million.
It's the old argument to me, should Cheryl Swoops make as much money as LeBron James because she was great, just as great at her sport as he is at his? And my answer is no. He draws huge crowds. Mm-hmm. He sells tons of jerseys
and tickets
and
generates TV ratings.
I mean, I think I saw, even as great as Caitlin Clark was last year, and she was fantastic in the WNBA, they lost, I think, over $100,000 more. No, actually a couple, like $5 million, something like that. Yeah. And they had their best year ever. They still lost like $5 million. So you can't, it's apples and oranges. Nebraska football will always rule the roost. It's just the way it is. And you have to be somewhat thankful that it does because it pays for all these sports. But to say that they all deserve an equal share of $21.5 million or whatever it is seems a little ridiculous to me.
It just
somebody who just picked up a rifle, is on the rifle team, gets
the same amount of money as Dylan Raiola.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
Yeah, that part of it is one. And I guess I've never the Title IX thing. I am all about women's sports equality. I have zero problem.
I understand
women playing sports, none at all.
Same.
They
get equal opportunity. I just always felt like football at 105
and 85 scholarships, because about scholarship. Those 85 scholarships count against it in Title IX, and I always was like, no women's sport has 85 players.
Yeah.
And so I always thought it was a bit of I'm like, you know what though? You've got young ladies that are now getting opportunities because of Title IX, and absolutely agree with it. But the revenue part, I don't know.
Hey, fun show, Mike.
Oh yeah, great.
We'll do it again next week. I'm gonna go eat some chili. Sounds good.
Who you got for chili? Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Ohio State.
Same
and to cover.
See ya.
From the beginning, they were applauded. The music that sold over 100 million records. Chicago, June 17th.